Oh, this is John Black, Super Chemist. This is part 2, talking about Drag Queen Story Hour.
That's how it's so uncomfortable. I genuinely feel disgusting. Genuinely have the heebie-jeebies. Genuinely, utterly confused. Like, that is a room full of thousands of adults and consenting parents that think this is okay and fine. Like, this is real life. This is where the concern comes in. When children are being used to dance on stage for the approval for adults in order to make an income, I will always have a problem for it. Whether it be drag queens, pageant shows, I do not care. It is disgusting and it needs to end. And what baffles me even more, surprisingly, I can't even believe we're about to go further diving deep into this. Not only are they at conventions performing, but they are in bars. And it don't stop there. Grown adults handing children, elementary grade children, money for singing and dancing in a bar. I sound crazy, but this is real. This is where we're at, and this is why I make the content that I make, because I do not agree with this, and this does not represent the LGBTQ community or any of my followers at all. It is not homophobic, anti-drag. It's not any of this to be against this. I'm totally fine with drag queens existing in above 18 spaces, but for getting children on a pathway, a career path, to be over it. Predatory was that Trixie talked on behalf of all of gay people, and that's where we get muddied, and that's where we end up on behalf of all of gay people. And that's where we get muddied, and that's where we end up in situations like we are today.
Preying on these young children.
Okay, no she didn't. She just said preying on these young children. You guys, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something very fundamental. Nobody who does drag thinks about kids.
This is Albert Garza, a registered child offender, convicted in 2008 for an 8-year-old boy. This is also him, Tatiana Malanina, his drag queen alter ego. This is who's been reading to kids at Houston Public Libraries since last year.
Nobody who does drag thinks about kids.
So it does happen. And I genuinely hate that it does. It puts such a bad reputation on the gay community, and it sets a large chunk of the efforts that the lesbian, gay, and bisexual community have made to be accepted in society. It's washing all of that away. We're already a minority. This is the exact reason why all these drag bills are popping up.
Several Republican-led states, including Florida, Kentucky, Idaho, North Dakota, Montana, and Oklahoma, are considering legislation that would ban drag shows in public. Tennessee became the first state to pass such a law last week, and it's raising new questions about what exactly is being made illegal and why.
Majority of these bills are not even homophobic. These lawmakers are simply scrambling and trying to prevent everything that we have just discussed and witnessed. They want to get rid of the family-friendly pride events and get rid of any child performing drag or witnessing drag because of the harmful things that we have just witnessed. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing is not family-friendly. That same drag queen that I just brought up, Trixie, in that same video they talk about how there's family-friendly movies and there are R-rated movies, and there's family-friendly drag events and there's R-rated drag events. The problem we have is that one is regulated and one is not. We have the Motion Picture Association for a reason. It's accredited and trustworthy. When you see a G-rated movie, you know it's G-rated. When you see an R-rated movie or an NC+17 movie, you know it's for adults. You have a mass amount of event organizers and drag queens saying, yes, this is a G-rated performance, it's a family-friendly pride event, and it's everything but. That is the problem. At the end of the day, when you wrap up this conversation between drag queens and children and them reading to the kids, teaching the kids how to twerk, having them perform on stage, having children be in bars being thrown dollar bills, it all boils down, genuinely, it all boils down to the profession of a drag queen, and it is one that they are employed by a bar and thrown dollar bills by drunk adults in an 18+ establishment just like a stripper. When you are raising a child to be a drag queen, you are raising them down a career path to be technically a stripper. That's the problem a lot of Americans, a lot of people around the world have with children and drag queens. 9 times out of 10 has nothing to do with the art of drag as itself. 18 up, 21, I don't care. It's a free at least in America, it's a free country, do as you want. I genuinely don't care. I attend some drag shows. I think they're bopping. There's videos out there somewhere of me dancing with some drag queens in an 18+ establishment. For children, it's not appropriate. It's literally that simple. The main point of this video is to highlight and show why a lot of people have problems and are concerned and are frustrated with the link between drag queens and children. Because as I've said before, the gay relations in the United States, after gay marriage got legalized, there were a few hiccups here and there, but for the most part, the gay community was fine. The gay community was chilling, we had a lot of rights, we were vibing, it was cool. But then the kids got involved. And the second the kids got involved, that's when we seen everything blown up. From transitioning but they led it up to having drag queens. Little kids are not going down the slide, sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, I want to marry you when I get older. They're just best friends having a good time at the park, and why can't we leave it at just that? Why do we have to push this idea, oh yeah, let's get married when we get older? Like, marriage should be the last thing on a child's mind. They're at the playground to let them play. And then
Alright, this is this is Blaire White. She's on YouTube also. This is about some teachers. These are actual teachers. This woman has I've seen her. She got caught because she had things on like the dating sites, whatever they have on Bubble Bee or whatever they are, looking for children that, you know, parents that had children that she could teach, and that they were kink friendly, they were into fetish, you know, the kids would be fetish friendly and all this stuff. She's a real freak.
Story time. This has been my first year in preschool with a class of my own. The topic of gender and genitals came up.
I'm a 4th grade teacher. I Hannah Fandon Steele am a racist. I am a product of the white dominant structure I was raised in.
Try to talk to your teacher about it and explain to them that this is what non-binary people are doing in the language.
Let me out of this room. You can't lock me in a room. You can't lock me in. Please let me out.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So one of the things that I have seen a really explosive increase in requests for within my DMs, my emails, my messages, is for me to talk about what you guys... It's insane. And let me tell you that collecting these videos was insane. It was a whole thing. But if I had to see them, so do you. Let's go.
Hi. Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Okay, so I didn't feel like going out and getting them, but there's a bunch of videos about these little boys that are turning into drag queens, and they're dressed, they're you know, they're not stripping down to nothing, but they're dancing and stripping down to lower and lower clothes, just like a drag queen, and then they're in bars and they're in other places, just getting dollar bills put in their hands. What does that mean?
Hi, so I have a small dilemma. I am starting a new job on Monday, and it's a teaching job.
Are those samurai sword earrings? I can't decide if that's really cool or like really annoying. Annoying.
So the kids are going to call me either Mr. or Mrs. Jamie. It depends on what I want, but I, as a non-binary being, I don't know what to pick. I feel like Mrs. would be easier.
Non-binary being.
Easier for the kids, but Mr. makes me feel better, but I also kind of want to try mix, but I don't know if the kids can do that. I don't. And then what do they do when they ask me if I'm a boy or a girl? I'm not. I don't know.
Explain when it's young kids, too.
It's young kids. My class is going to be 4-year-olds, so I don't know. And then I don't know if I want to go by Jamie or Jamie Ray, because Jamie Ray is the name that I go by now. I don't know.
Girl, you don't know what name you want, you don't know what pronouns you want. Maybe you should hold off on fucking teaching. That's just so annoying. Shouldn't she be expressing this amount of, like, stress or excitement or anxiety about like, how am I going to teach these kids? How am I going to live up to the very intense obligation of educating the youth and raising these 4-year-olds for 8 hours out of the day that they're not going to be with their parents? But instead, you're such a narcissist that you're sitting here focusing on, well, what do I want these 4-year-olds to call me? What do I want these 4-year-olds to refer to me as? Girl, you're a narcissist.
I don't know. Any advice would be great for any non-binary teachers.
SOS, save our ship.
SOC, save our captain. Thanks.
It's really annoying. Okay, so this one is a teacher answering the question, what is your opinion as a teacher on students who want to be called a different name but say not to tell their parents? So let's see what this teacher has to say.
I never tell parents, period. On their survey at the beginning of the year when it asked for preferred name and pronouns, it also asked for what you want me to refer to you as when I call home and what pronouns to use. So then I just make sure when I'm calling home, I use what they prefer when I call home. Even if someone told me I couldn't do that and I couldn't call them whatever they want or the pronouns they want without parent permission, I would still do it.
It's a problem that the teacher feels like they have the ability or the right to keep a secret from a kid's parents. And I know people of this political persuasion tend to believe that children belong more so to the state than they do the parents. If this teacher felt like they had any more right to information about my kid than I do. I'm feeling really bitchy today.
I'm a 4th grade teacher, and I do a lot of work with social justice and equity in my classroom. We have racialized conversations all the time.
I'm sure that's healthy.
Hannah Fandensteel am a racist. I am a product of the white dominant structure I was raised in. My people have done an excellent job lifting each other up. Unfortunately, that was on the backs of people of color. Because this is deeply embedded in my history, it is no wonder I was passed down views that are racially problematic. Even though white supremacy can be unconscious, it is constant. Living in this society would have been a miracle for me to be anything but racist. Now that I know I have deeply rooted racist tendencies, I can constantly be looking and listening for how they surface in my life. And when a person of color gives me feedback for not being a good ally, I can say thank you and not get defensive. Something here I said could have been problematic because I'm always learning.
Why are your eyes like that?
And this person should be fired because they're admitting how racist they are, and they are racist. This is the most racist person I've ever seen.
Are you on drugs? I like how people like this are just projections of what they really feel about themselves. It's like these people can't help but talk about how they are racist and how they're so problematic. It's like, speak for yourself. Why do you feel the need to speak for other people that look like you? Example, white people. Not everyone has these internal views. Not everyone has these senses of other races that you have just because you're so hyper-focused on it. You're projecting what you are, which maybe you're racist, and feel free to speak your truth, Miss Girl, but don't speak anyone else's truth because you don't know if it is their truth. It's just really annoying. Because the reality
out teacher at my school, out as both bisexual and trans, and a lot of other teachers on TikTok were wondering how I managed coming out to my students. And it's a really interesting story. So this was right before the pandemic. I came back to my school after being away from it for a while, during which time I transitioned. So none of the kids knew me as trans, but I wanted to talk about it. So what I did is, as soon as I came back, I joined up with the GSA, realized how many questions the kids had, and decided the best thing to do would be to host a Q&A. So the kids made up a whole bunch of flyers, and then one day during lunch, we hosted the tea talk. It was a triple entendre of T as in trans, T as in spilling the tea, and T as in we literally served them tea. It was great. It was a huge success. So many people showed up. We didn't have nearly enough tea for everyone. And I spent about 10 minutes talking about the difference between gender, sex, and sexual orientation, and then also talking about my own life story, sort of like the highlight.
And I'm sure everything that she said about gender, sex, sexuality was completely factual and based in science and not biased or part of her particular worldview at all. I'm sure it was not her opinion. It was all just facts, right? Totally objective, I'm sure. Now, this one isn't as bad as some other ones. This comes to mind, like, why do you think these kids need to know that you're bisexual? Why is it important?
Story time. This has been my first year in preschool with a class of my own, teaching alongside another queer neurodivergent educator, and we have been rocking our Choose class. We've been talking about gender and skin color and consent and empathy and our bodies and autonomy. It's been fabulous.
Didn't she say preschool? I would be so pissed. First of all, a number of the things she just listed are things that if I was a parent, honey, I can't speak as a parent because I'm not, but if I was, I for damn sure would be teaching those things to my kid myself, because who the